Okay, so picture this. You're all dressed up, ready to head out, but then you feel this invisible force just pulling you right back to the couch. We've all been there, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into the surprising psychology behind that exact feeling.
Oh, you know the feeling. Your keys are in your hand, shoes are on. You're literally halfway out the door, and then you glance back. And all of a sudden, your bed looks softer than it ever has, and your room just feels like the safest place on the entire planet. That pull is real.
And what's the first thing you think if you give in and take your shoes off? Probably something like, ugh, I'm so lazy. But listen, what if it's not laziness at all? What if it's something else entirely? A quiet little pull that has absolutely nothing to do with your motivation? Let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's try to understand this invisible pull. We're talking about those quiet but surprisingly powerful forces that kind of keep you inside.
Okay, first things first, it's really important to clear something up. For some people, this feeling can be connected to something clinical, like agoraphobia, which is a really serious fear of losing control in a place where it feels like you can't escape. But for a lot of us, that pull to stay home is something way more subtle, and that's what we're really going to focus on today.
So, that brings us to our brains. Let's look at how modern life basically trains our brain to make staying in the default choice. You know, the path of least resistance. Okay, so there's this key concept called decision fatigue. Think of it like this. Your willpower is like your phone battery. Every single choice you make all day long, what to wear, what to eat, how to word that email, each one drains a little bit of that charge. So by the end of the day, you're in the red. And here's the contrast, right? The outside world, it's just a nonstop storm of decisions. What to wear, where to go, how am I supposed to act? How do I respond to that? But home is your calm harbor. Everything is already decided. The variables are controlled. You don't have to perform. Okay, here's another really fascinating piece of this whole puzzle, and it's super relevant in our always-on world. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. You know what this is. It's when you've had a super stressful day where everyone else controlled your time, so you stay up way too late just scrolling or binging a show, trying to claw back a few hours that feel like they belong to you and only you.
So, what's the end result of all this? Well, your mind starts to build this really simple but really powerful association. Home equals freedom. Home equals rest. And the outside world? That equals pressure and demands. And that connection just gets stronger and stronger over time.
But here's the catch. What happens when your safe space starts to feel less like a sanctuary and more like, well, a trap? This is where we need to talk about how that comfort zone can quietly start to shrink your world. I mean, it makes perfect sense why we love it. Our brains are hardwired to love predictable systems. And your home, it's the ultimate controlled environment. Nothing unexpected is going to happen. No one's there to judge you. You don't have to be on. It's the one place you can just drop your guard completely.
And this is how that pattern gets stronger and stronger. It's a reinforcement loop. You stay inside, which makes you feel safe, and you successfully avoid any potential discomfort. So your brain gets this little hit of relief and it goes, hey, that worked. Let's do that again next time. And every time you do it, that loop gets a little bit tighter.
And that right there, that's the very definition of the comfort trap. It's not some loud, obvious prison with iron bars. No, it's a quiet cage. It's built one brick at a time with every single decision we make to choose ease over a little bit of a challenge. It feels great in the moment, for sure, but it's slowly, quietly shrinking our lives.
Which, leads to a really tricky question, right? If the cage is comfortable, if it feels safe, how on earth would you even know you're trapped? Let's kind of let that one sit for a minute.
All right, so if that's the trap, how do we get out? Well, that's what this last part is all about. We're looking for a gentle way out. And I want to stress that word, gentle. This isn't about forcing some huge, dramatic change. It's about finding balance. Okay, the very first, most important thing we need to do is completely reframe this. This is not a personal flaw. Wanting to stay home does not mean you are broken. It just means your mind is trying to do its job. It's trying to protect you from what it sees as stress and pressure and just plain exhaustion. So because this is a protective instinct, the goal isn't to suddenly force yourself to be an extrovert. That would just be adding more pressure, right? No, the real goal is way simpler. It's just about finding a balance that actually feels good to you. So how do we start? Well, we can break it down into 3 simple strategies.
First, we figure out how to make the outside world feel a little less overwhelming. Second, we actively work on reducing that decision fatigue we talked about. And third, we completely redefine what going out even means in the first place.
Let's really focus on that second one for a second, because it's so practical. To cut down on decision fatigue, you just create a super simple, low-stakes routine. Maybe you go to the same cafe every Saturday. You walk the exact same route. You go at the same time of day. By making it automatic, you get rid of all the little choices that create resistance.
The logic here is pretty simple, right? Less thinking means less resistance. When you take away the friction of having to make a bunch of choices, your brain has way fewer reasons to say no.
And this part is absolutely crucial. We have to let go of the pressure of what we think going out should be. It doesn't have to be a big social event or a party. It doesn't even have to be productive. It can literally just be a 5-minute walk down the block and back. Any step, no matter how small, is a win. And here's something really comforting to remember. All that anxiety, that stress, that feeling of being overwhelmed, a lot of that is just internal noise. The actual world outside your door, it's usually a lot quieter and way less intimidating than your mind can sometimes make it out to be.
And really, that brings us to the most important takeaway of all. Your home is supposed to be your safe space, a place where you recharge your batteries. It was designed to be your home base, the place you venture out from, not a fortress you hide inside of.
So I want to leave you with just one final question. And don't think about some massive life change. Just think about this. What is one small, tiny step you can take today?